I don't know. Alright, hi, it's Meglina. I don't know if you've noticed this, but I am a proud member, a proud card-carrying member of the Just Like Other Girls coalition. I am very much just like other girls, and anytime I thought that I was not, I have been pimp slapped with the information that no, you have never had a single innocuously self-determined thought in your life. You've never had a single ingenious thought, which is not a bad thing. I'm not trying to invent the wheel with my existence. I'm simply here to have a good time, eat a lot of grapes, drink a lot of wine. Like, period poo. So, anytime I've strayed outside of that, like the other girls' mentality, I have found that I've missed out on things. What is this video about? Now that I've ranted something that is unrelated that might get cut and just turn into a TikTok. But I am just like other girls, and that is my favorite part of me. Is this a new series? No. Am I going to take my time working my way through these thoughts and feelings? Yes. This is no rush. This is a treat. Maybe this will come out around Christmas. I don't know. But I had a moment, a come to Jesus moment, that made me reflect not only on the piece of media I was ingesting, but also me as a person. I did not come into this planning on discussing this media on my channel. I really wanted to just enjoy this, but I am so enthralled with it that if I don't share this with someone else outside of my realm of human friends and acquaintances, I will risk ruining my relationship with my mother and also my boyfriend. So we must discuss. I don't have the physical book because I read it in Audible form and then bought the digital form later just so I could be able to cite some stuff. But this is outfit 1, Barbiecore, Barbielicious. This is outfit 1 of my large-scale deep dive about my thoughts, feelings, rants, ravings, and reviews of A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J. Maas. So here's the book that I can superimpose the actual cover of the book onto. Woo! My girl boss a little too close to the sun. Also, like, again, something that might get cut into a TikTok. Also, like, look at my journal. This is the journal I use to write notes in, and it's got a table of contents. Finna nut. Oh my god. I love how everything is so even. Also, if you want to see my notes from this one, I have some hand calligraphy and then a wall of text. Okay. So, in the beginning, there was a pandemic. It didn't start with the pandemic as much as it started with me going to classes that I had that year in 2020. They were all online classes even before the pandemic, so I would go to the college that I attend physically just so I could get out of the house, because there ain't no coffee shops to be a coffee shop babe in around here. My god, the Starbucks wasn't even open yet. So many things have changed. And I would just listen to YouTube videos in the background. So, in the beginning, there was a pandemic. And in the first month, I started watching Read with Cindy. Now just with Cindy. They're a book review, they're a booktuber channel, and I think they're pretty neat. I think they're very interesting. Not entirely sure of the pronouns, so that's why we're going with there. And I think what the video that actually did draw me to their channel was their ACOTAR video, but I don't know for sure. But I did watch their long-form ACOTAR videos. And the thing that I took away from it was that A Court of Roses, of Thorns and Roses, is smut. Hardcore fairy smut. Not even like hardcore. It was like mommy porn fairy smut that, you know, made a lot of money but didn't really have too much substance. That was what my takeaway was. I'm not putting anything on Cindy. I'm just saying what I've taken away from it. So I consume a lot of media about a lot of things that I'm never going to check out because I do not have enough time, because I'm too busy watching YouTube videos to actually consume media. So that like comedy video, like Cindy is very comedic in it. Like I love the tone of it. Just no notes. I still think that's a really good video. But that's just all I knew about it. And then 2 years or so later, yeah. Like, I know I watched all the videos about it, all the sequels. Don't remember a damn thing. All I know is fairy smut. Fairy smut and Sex in the Sky with the fairy wings. That's what I held on to. Because I could, you know, pull out and be like, isn't that silly that a book with a female lead and thus, you know, kind of made for women is also just like so horny. I could never do that. I'm ashamed. I am ashamed. Don't even remember the third book. So another thing that you must know about me for this to go on is that I like to sleep to long form videos. I normally have streams 3 to 4 hours plus going, pumping in the background. If it's something's within like an hour or so, and it's not something I'm really excited about, like if it's something that's an hour and I'm excited about it, of course I'm gonna watch it. If it's within 2 hours and I'm excited about it, I'm gonna watch it. 3 hours, yeah, we can get there, but like 2 to 3 hour mark, I will have it on while I'm trying to sleep. Just kind of in the background, keeping me company. Sorry, I'm looking at myself. I'm astoundingly beautiful today. Take notes of how gorgeous I am. Leave me a light compliment in the, I don't know which direction my curls go, in the comments, because I'm so beautiful. I'm so beautiful. It just makes the music start playing again. I think I'd throw myself off a bridge. So I just like sleep to YouTube videos, and I'm not even sure how I came back across it, but for the last 2 or 3 years, off and on, I've been subscribed and then unsubscribing to Kari Can Read. There's nothing wrong with it, her channel. I just, you know, straight up booktube, oh, I read this book content doesn't always appeal to me. I don't know, it makes me feel a little uncomfy with the amount of books that I read and the fact that most months I read a single book because brain enchiladas, econ. Sorry, all I know is microeconomics and breathing, fine dining and breathing. So I don't always watch it, but I think I got drawn back into it by her doing a long form video about ACOTAR. I was like, that's gonna be fine. That's gonna be totally, you know, empty-headed and vacuous. She herself cites doing a Mike's Mike style video on it, but I'd like to state for the record that I've been doing plot beat by beat, unhinged retellings of things since last August, and I, you know, don't want it to come across like I'm ripping her off, or them, either of them, because I That's like, because originally that was gonna be what I did, was like I do with the click books and what I've done with Family Affair and all that. I was going to break down the plot, and I realized I do not give a shit about the first book's plot. We'll get into it, but I realized I wasn't gonna do that. But stay for the record, Kari Can Read is a pastiche on Mike's, which is, I believe he also cites Quentin reviews. Again, the overly long, overly explaining series of videos about a certain niche topic. We stand in this house. Video essay queen. So, with this long form video subplot wriggling around for as long as it has now at this point, going on for 10 minutes, I had on the first video for ACOTAR on in the background while I slept. I woke up and I remember going, and whatever, it was fine. I was not heartbroken. I went on about my day. Well, I was at work and I was cleaning. That is my job. And I just was like, I don't want to listen to my podcast this week. I want to burn through some of these videos I have in my video essay folder. So I slap on part 1 of book 2, and I just get to work, and I'm just kind of letting it wash over me, and it's kind of happening in the background, like, not too hard. It's a 2-hour video, and I get to the end, and I'm like, I'm gonna listen to part 2. It was a mind-altering experience. I'm being dramatic, but I'm also not. Like, this has been something that has brought so much, like, serotonin into my head that I'm like, oh, this is a thing. This is like a thing. I was like, I have to, capital H, have to read this for myself now. Before I go and listen to her thoughts on book 3, I had to make my own thoughts beforehand, because I'm just like, a bad boy? With a heart of gold? What? So call me influenced. I was possessed. I stumbled, shambling over to my Audible account and used 5 credits on this. I listened to them on my walk. I walked to go vote, to do early voting in case this comes out at a weird time, but I early voted and listened to it on my walk there and back. It was so good. It was like, first off, as I accidentally listened to the book at 1.30 speed. Whoopsie. Now I can't listen to it at normal speed because that's too slow. You're too slow. But I was able to get some of the plot stuff out of the way while I was mildly distracted. I guess I gotta bring that back out to the front because my head looks weird when it's back there. So, it's so good. I don't even know. I'm very compelled to proselytize at you how good this is. My point is that it's a bestseller for a reason, and that the girls were right. The other girls, the mommies, the horny mommies who are interested in fae porn, they're right. They were correct. Like, the plot. A court. Words are so hard. A Court of Thorns and Roses is a Beauty and the Beast retelling, with Shakespearean fairy politics laid on top of it. 2 things that I love. Really, the last book series that I read that I think about reading, which is not actually true because I still read that when I was in high school, and I definitely read something that we'll talk about later out of high school when I was in college. But God, I was a sad girl my freshman year. I'm just had a memory. But I was also, it was also Fae politics. I do love that. That is my niche, baby. I think that's the problem. Is it hit me? It hit me in so many niches. I have a triangle and a graph. I got a graph on this page to talk about the niches they hit. So our lead is Farah, a human, the youngest daughter of a failed merchant. He's a deadbeat. I went back and forth about calling him that. I'm calling him that. I don't like him. I don't like him at all. You can't just show up at the end. Sorry, there are going to be spoilers abounding because this isn't a video for someone trying to get into it. I've delivered you resources on how to get into this series. I am just here to talk about it. So, spoiler. Okay, deadbeat dad. You can't just show up at the end and then be like, see, I died, seemingly kind of in a stupid way. In the most asinine ending. I truly hate the endings of books. We're gonna get there. We're gonna talk about it. So, failed merchant. At her mother's deathbed, she's given the mission, the credo. Don't separate from your sisters, take care of them. Essentially leaving at the time like an 11 and now 19-year-old Farah with her purpose. The reader will remember this. With her purpose is to protect and provide for her family and her deadbeat dad. Her family, her deadbeat dad, and her two sisters. The stony cold Nesta and the space kid. And the space case eye and the pie. And I don't even know what I wrote anymore. The stony cold Nesta and the space case pie in the sky, Elaine. With the family's meal being on the line, Farah kills a wolf. She thinks about if it's fair or not, but it doesn't try and murk her like all of the stories that she was told as a child said it would. So she kills first. Shoots it in the eye with a ash arrow, the only thing known to kill Fae, and a normal arrow because she's making sure she doesn't fucking die. She skins it and takes it off to market. She is cold-blooded. She is giving ignorance. She's like, these fairy bastards. She's not met a fairy in her life. But these fairy bastards are gonna hear about it. So, with hate and ignorance in her heart, she kills the wolf. This wolf ends up being the sentry guard of the High Lord of the Spring Court in Prithian, Tamlin. Tamlin comes to collect on this debt from supposedly this Fae 500-year treaty that, even though it was said near about 500 times in the first 8 chapters, that she doesn't really know too much about, because her mother, who was her family was very well off. And then her mom died. And then her dad lost money to a bad shipping deal. Their ships went down and they lost a crap ton of money. And so they were now destitute. And for the past 3 years had been living in a shack on the edge of town. But because of that, Farah's mom sucked. I'm sure in the coming books they're going to explain why she doesn't suck and why it's like, oh, this is a tragedy, she was depressed or something. Her mom didn't teach her how to read. She doesn't know how to read. Farah can't read. And the reader will remember that. Farah can't read. And Farah doesn't know anything about the world around her except for hunt, kill, feed family. That's truly it. She is living on her base instincts, and thus she's not saddled by society's norms, which honestly, I kind of love. I love that. She a hoe and she a freak like me, and I love that. So she goes off. The wolf man comes into the house and is like, come with me, or I'll murder you. And so she's like, I guess. And her dad's like, go, actually go. And so she's like, I guess I'm going. I guess I don't want to die in protecting my family since deadbeat dad said to do it, I'm doing it. So she goes. And he begins to woo her in the way that a Beauty and the Beast story is wooed. It starts off failing, and then she thinks her dad is coming to get her, but it's not. It's an evil of the land. Our Lumiere, Lucian, our Mrs. Potts, Alice. There is no Chip, and we're for the best on that. No need for Chip. But they try and woo. I'm skipping over this plot, not because it is unimportant, but it is because it's not the part of the book I care about. I cannot explain to you the feralness I feel in my heart. So then, as Beauty and the Beast happens, the beauty comes. Not everything is as it seems. They fall in love. She gets sent back to town for whatever reason. Dangers afoot. She returns. Alright, so we're at the she returns part. She gets sent home by Tamlin, back to the human realm. He sends her off with all this money. To get her to stop trying to leave and like cry all the time, he's like, no, I took care of your family. He sent a guy into town to essentially give Farah's dad money to invest, and then he makes such great investings that they are able to move from their shack in the middle of nowhere to this like estate in town. They're still like in town with the rest of everything, but it's different now. So her old dealy bop doodle bop is she goes off, she comes back, and her dad is off at sea and is like, they're doing some shit at sea. No, he's back. So he's there. She rolls up with all these gems and money. She takes some of the money that she's been given. She invested in her dad. She takes some more of it and goes off and gives money to the homeless in town because the people in town never did anything like that for her. So she's like, I'm gonna do this for you, fellow poors. She's not stepping on those that came before her. She's a liberal. She then comes back and Nesta's like, I know you were gone. They were like, yeah, was that Aunt so-and-so? And she's like, no, your fucking wolf buddy boy tried to glamour the shit out of us. That don't work on me. I'm too much of a bad bitch. So Nesta knows. And so Farah tells her everything. They're having a moment. It's all great. There's a ball. Elaine is flirting around in social season. And then Farah's just like, you know what? Actually, I don't want to be here. Should she suffer? Should she clap if you think she should suffer? So she goes off to find Tamlin, leaving her family, being like, hey, if you even smell something feels weird, leave. Get out of here. Don't stay. And they're like, okay, girl boss. Okay, girl. So she's off to go find Tamlin. She goes by horse for 2 days to the wall. Then it's another 2 days to find a hole in the wall. Then she gets to the court. And then she finds Alice. Alice is in there. And Alice explains the requirements of this whole, breaking of the curse. The curse, by the way, is that it's twofold. It's the physical one where everyone in the spring court has to wear these big masquerade metal masks. They're stuck to their faces and they're attached to their rank in the court. And then it's also, if he doesn't do the thing, that they all have to come and live under the court with the evil Amarantha, who has been wreaking havoc all over Prithian, because Amarantha's sister, first off, bloodthirsty warmonger 500 years ago. That treaty we're talking about was forged in a war that she fought to keep humans enslaved. But her sister was willing to risk it all for that Gak 5000 of the enemy Peen. So her sister has a human lover that for some reason she didn't think maybe it's a bad idea if I have a human lover, but go off, queen. She doesn't. So she then has the human lover is like, all right, well, I gotten all the information I can from you. Time to torture you in the name of your sister, which is you're not 100% there either. I mean, I guess wanting to torture those who wrong you is not fully incorrect, but that's why we don't let the wronged fully control justice. So Amarantha's like, I don't care who you are. You assaulted my sister. Time to get murked. There is a battle. Jorian falls. Amarantha does some shit to him. We'll discuss later. And she Feral. She then is biding her time to get revenge on the humans. Highborn, so there's the 7 summer and diagonal courts. You got winter, spring, summer, fall, and then you've also got day, night, and dawn. I don't know why there's no dusk court, but they're there on this island along with the part of the human lands that Farah lives on. And then across the island is, whatchamacallit, there's the continent over here, and then there's your boy, King Hybern. King Hybern is Amarantha's king, because, and she's just oh, well, even though we lost a lot of land to the war and my king told me not to, I'm gonna go over here and do some court hopping. And so she makes friends with all the court's friends and sneaks in all of her dudes so that when it was time, she tricked all sorts of people out of their power. So she's got the gifts, she's got all the High Lords by the balls. She's got Tamlin's magic. She's got everyone's magic. So while previous to this, let's see. After the two sides made the treaty, Alice said, now going through the drawers, she butchered her own slaves rather than free them. But centuries later, the High Lords believed her when she told them that the death of her sister had changed her, especially when she opened trade lines between our two territories. The High Lords never knew that those same ships that brought over Hibernian goods also brought over her own personal forces. The King of Hybern didn't know either, but we all soon learned that in those 50 years she was here, she had decided, she wanted Prithian for herself, to begin amassing power and use our lands as a launching point to one day destroy your world once and for all, with or without her king's blessing. So 49 years ago, she struck. She knew that even with her personal army, she could never conquer the 7 High Lords by numbers or power alone. but she was also cunning and cruel, and she waited until they had absolutely trusted her, until they gathered at a ball in her honor, and that night she slipped a potion stolen from the King of Hybern's unholy spellbook into their wine. Once they drank, the High Lords were prone, their magic laid bare, and she stole their powers from where they originated, inside their bodies, plucked them out as if she were taking an apple from its branch, leaving them with only the basis elements of their magic. So, yeah, all the kings are weak. She's got all their magic. Previous to that, so that happens. Tamlin's like, I should probably broker for peace, but I'm not particularly good at this because I'm like more punch than I am talk. So he sends his courtier, his emissary, his lowdown pal, his chummy buddy, Lucian. A much better love interest. I love Lucian. No notes about Lucian. Lucian off to the to her court in the middle of the country, and she doesn't accept it, and instead of being like, oh, well, I guess we'll have to return to this at some other point, he's like, actually, crawl back into that shithole you came from, actually. And she's like, I do not. And I took that personally. Shaq, I took that personally. So she then plucks out his eye with her finger and then does some unspeakable shit to his face, leaving him scarred and disfigured. And it's like, oh no, friend, that's not good at all. But later, she returns Lucian to Tamlin. Tamlin's like, oh, my friend is so perturbed by that he vomits, which, again, this book has a vomit counter. I believe book 1 is 5 vomits. It's kind of a lot of vomit for, like, noted vomit notes? It's a lot. It's kind of a lot. And loose bowels. There's a lot of shit talk and a lot of bodily fluid talk that I was not ready for. But. I'm very silly with this. She, after a while, as their powers are getting real weaky deaky, Tamlin's like, okay, she's invited us back up to the mountains to make amends. Maybe things will go right this time. Maybe things won't be terrible this time. Maybe things will go right. What do you think happened? So, of course, things go absolutely wrong. And they get in there with the masks on. Tamlin, whatever was said, Tamlin's like, aha! Oh no, Amaranthum wants to take him as her lover. Thing about this book series, #feminism, all the sexual assaulters are women. That's a very interesting thing to have. I guess it definitely throws off the kilter, but off of what normally happens, but also, all of them are women? I'll get back to it. But Tamlin is like, I think I'd actually rather fuck a human than fuck you, ever. And she's like, again, I took that personally. So she curses everybody in the spring court to have the masks on the face. And then she has a very, very specific set of rules on how they can get out of this. Because if he doesn't do this, by the time that she says it, everyone has to go live under the mountains. That's in his court, that's there then, has to live under the mountain with her in her hellhole. So he has 7 times 7 years to break the curse. It has to be a human girl with an icy heart, sweetie, with hatred in her heart, to kill a fae, one of his own men, one of Tamlin's own men. And then this human woman has to want to marry him and love him and all that by the end. That's the only way to break the spell. I feel like there's too much stuff open to interpretation that could have made this a lot harder. All I'm saying is you could have literally a problem with this entire series is that everyone is very insular. Everyone's North Korea. No one wants to work with these other fae fuckers. So he could have easily gone to someone in the summer court, just like snuck an emissary over when this first started 50 years ago and been like, hey, I can't write what happened, but you know what happened. Write this down so I have it so I can show hoes. But of course he doesn't, whatever. So now he's got to figure out how to tell this woman without telling, because they've been cursed also not to say it specifically. So that's what happened. The sentry wolf that Farah killed was sent there searching for a cure, that cure being Farah. And that's why she was brought there. Only thing you don't know that I know, maybe, again, this is for the fans, but if you're here, I also appreciate you being here. I watch things I'm not supposed to know or understand too. Is that Farah had been slowly falling in love with what's-his-face, but, like, Farah is a base person. And that's not, like, a rude thing. She's just, like, all she's ever known her entire life is trauma and trying to survive. She does not have time for the intimacies of, well, I fucked you, so why don't you know I love you? I think he does say it. I think I've missed it in both times I've re-listened to the books. I think he does say it. But the two of them, after about a month of just eye fucking each other from across the room, and him Mormon he was soak sexing her. That happened. There's some dry humping happening. It was, in fact, horny fae porn. Sydney ain't wrong from that. But after about a month of that, they finally fall into bed with one another, and then he's like, I love you, and she doesn't say it back. And then he's like, actually, I'm gonna send you off back to human land, which is like, you know that for the past 6, she comes at winter. They do a spring festival and then a summer festival. So we have done like 3-ish months or so, almost 4, of shit down here, and you're just like, you know her. You know that it takes her literally, like, she's like a half step behind you. I think he could have waited the 2 weeks that they had the time to be like, oh god, I gotta go back under the woods to get that. But he's like, no, I want to make sure she's safe. So I'm gonna send her away. I'm gonna send her back to the human realm to die. Because that's what would have happened. Amarantha would have had everybody's power, and then she would have, Yeetus Deletus fetuses all of the people on the Earthland, the human line, but whatever. So he sends her away, and she comes back, which is where we are with Alice. Alice is like, you could have done it. It's your fault. It's her fault. Fuck Tayai, and fuck me. Why is it fuck me? She did not know. She says it multiple times, and to the point where she blames herself, where she's like, I should have said I loved. Girl, you did not know. You thought you were just lightly falling in love with a dude. You didn't know it was Beauty and the... You can't read. You've never read the book. So Farah's like, I have to make this up for the people of the Spring Court, and for Tamlin. My love, Tamlin. My High Lord. I want you to... The reader will remember that. She only refers to him as my lord. Also, for the purposes of this essay, our purpose has changed. Our purpose isn't just to take care of the sisters anymore. Nay. Our purpose is now to free Tamlin and do whatever it takes to do that, to help the Spring Court. So she gets down there, and this is where I think the best part of the book is. Okay, so back out of explaining the plot of this and back to explaining something about me. So I think at this point, 3 great book loves. I was a voracious reader as a child and into my teen years, and I really fell off in college. I just had a lot of balls in the air. But the last series I read, and I'm still working through it. I own all the books now. I just haven't finished it. Was Cinder. And I really like that. You can tell I love a good fairy tale retelling. I am a slut for that. Give me your fairy tale retellings recommendations in the comments and just eat that up. Nom 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 nom. I think I read the first 3 books. I believe there are 5. And then I also have her newest book. But what my big first love, like writing fanfic love, and I think you'll be able to see once I pull it up, is The Hunger Games. And this is my copy. This is where she got ripped in half because I let a friend borrow her, and because she was so well loved, she just got ripped. And like, I love this book. She's gnarly. But my favorite part of the book series is going to the Capitol forward until the end of book 2 when she gets pulled out of the games. I don't think there is any peak literature more peak. There's nothing higher than Hurt Comfort, Enemies to Lovers, Found Family. Just like put that shit on a triangle. Our first triangle is Found Family, Enemies to Lovers, Hurt Comfort, and Pining. Ooh, Pining. I think PETA being like, I loved her, I've always loved her, she didn't even know it, altered my brain chemistry, truly. As a 14-year-old, I was not the same. I think I wasn't 14. I think I might have still been 12 into 13, and then, because the movie came out when I was 14. I think it actually had to been earlier then, because I was still doing Reading Bowl. I don't know. But that changed my brain chemistry. I was a different person after that. I was just like, cool. Oh. I'm a different person now. So, I love The Hunger Games. I love Misborn by Brandon Sanderson, which also has a female-led found family, enemies to lovers, Hurt Comfort, all the Pining. I love those books up until the end. I don't love battles, don't love war. You'd think a person who likes like fantasy and like speculative fiction and dystopians would love those, would like get into it, and it's like fine, but it's like that's more like wrapping the bow up, because I know we can't just talk through things, but like, God, Misborn is like, whereas like Hunger Games, I don't super love the beginning part where she's like sad which just makes me sound terrible. The part where she's sad and like starving and is like, oh my god, my depressed mother and my sad happy sister. Like, character I didn't need. Prim. Unpopular opinion. But, and also Gale. I don't know. I think you need Gale to be a good like love triangle, but also it could be you versus your own feelings. You versus your own feelings of, are you gonna let this person in? Or are you gonna not? Is it real? Is it TV? Misborn has less pining, has less enemies to lovers and more pining and found family, which just, I read Misborn I think when I was 18, 19. I was 18 because it was, I remember, because my bed was orientated differently and I was laying here with my laptop on the side of the bed with the audiobook playing, and I would listen to it to go to sleep at night because it made me so sad. Oh my god, I was so sad. I was so alone. And there it was, fucking Brandon Sanderson fucking up my shit. And isn't Brandon Sanderson also attached to Dragon Riders of Pern? I'm a Dragon Riders of Pern girl as well. That was a good year for books. That was a good year for audiobooks, the year I was super depressed. I was 109 pounds and sad as shit. But I read a lot of books. But those books all have that in common. And if you know anything about Qatar, or the second book specifically, you know that we're going to get deep into found family. But it starts with what is truly my favorite thing, enemies to lovers and pining. In the second half of this book, we go down under into the ground, and we are then taken, she's found immediately because she's a human, bless her heart, she's not meant to be here. And she rolls up on, she gets brought up in front of the Amarantha and her whore, Rieslyn, which we've met Reese before. We meet Reese at the spring festival in which he sees her and is just like, I was looking for you, which is like, the reader will remember this. I'm having that, like, must be what the okay girls from, like, in, like, John Green books must feel. Like, he's like, I was looking for you. And she's like, I don't know who you are. And he's like a mysterious stranger who saves her from almost getting assaulted by some fairies. You never know which assaulted is gonna be. Is it sexually assaulted? Or is it just going to be them being like, this thing seems easy to break. Bomp. I saw the clip of me from when I did my brat festivities video when I put the baby on in my mouth. It's the only clip I've seen of that. That video's due this week. I gotta deal with that. Many things to do. But he sees her then. He also comes to the house to harass Tamlin and also sees her there and is like, evil. He's just like, I'm glad you're gonna beat me with the power of friendship, but I am the devil from the Bible. And I'm like, because in my mind, Reese is not like, I don't know, he's not brooding sexy bad boy. He is brooding sexy bad boy, but I think there's another character who does brooding sexy bad boy better. Reese is James Wood Hades from Hercules. He's just the he's the Tumblr sexy man version of that. He's just wandering around being like, oh, that's stupid as hell. I love it. Let's do stupid shit together. But he also is like, I'm gonna keep hell the greatest hell you've ever seen. You've never seen a hell like it before. You've never seen a hell better than this because it's my hell. Oh, people think I'm gonna be an asshole. I'm gonna be the most asshole that ever Kim Kardashian asshole. He's great. Oh, feral behavior. But we see him he's not actually at Amarantha's side, but he appears, does some evil shit, doubles down on how, like, the devil from the Bible he is, and just like, you're just like, oh, this guy's bad. Oh, this guy is bad. And then she gets the shit beat out of her, and Lucian comes and heals her, and then she does a different, she does her first trial, And not only, ooh, that was my actual hair. He then bets on her that she was gonna win. Makes him a cool lot of money, but he also comes to check on her and is like, I have a deal for you. And she's like, I don't want it. Am I dying of infection? Yes, but I still have my pride. And she's just like, he's like, well, so has it. And then he misses away, and she's like, actually, I don't want to die. I can't help Tamlin if I'm dead. So they make a deal. They make a Hades and Persephone deal. I'm sorry. I am just like other girls. I am the white man's whore. But I'm not like other girls because my brain didn't go buzz buzz for Beauty and the Beast. I've seen enough Beauty and the Beast. I read goddamn Beastly and Thorned. No. But I am a whore for a Persephone Hades relationship where you're just like, I can only see my love a couple of times. When it's consensual. Don't be weird. Don't make it weird. Don't make it rapey. But him just being like, you have to come and be in my court for a week after they do some negotiating. And you're marked with my absolutely time period accurate tattoos. Go to jail. Go to hell. Oh my god. Go to hell with Reese. So, Reese just shows up, is like, hey, I'm gonna heal you in for this ink box tattoo that you're gonna get if you do it. She's like, sure, I guess. And now they are marked. They are together linked. They are bonded. Like, oh my god, feral. Jesus Christ, I am a different person. So we meet bad boy, the devil from the Bible, Reese, and then throughout the next couple of books, which we will get into in our next video, we meet him, or not next video, in their next section, and he's just so, they're enemies, but he's like rooting for her. He was rooting for you. And she's just like, my Tamlin, your Tamlin, who only saw you as an object, because at any given point that man only saw you as a means to an end and a child. But he is also, as far as this book goes, as far as the series goes, seeing it as one big book, because I read it in a weekend. I listened to the audiobooks. Yes, they're 25 hours long. At 1.30 speed, they're only 20 hours long, and you can smack those bad boys back to back over a nice weekend doing homework. The problem with reading audiobooks is that I didn't know that there was a map and was very confused because I'm like, why do we keep going north? Why isn't anyone next to each other? It's because they're on an island. I didn't know that. Sorry. But, just, goosebumps just thinking about James Wood, Tumblr sexy man, Reese. But I think this series is at its best at entering under the mountain until just before they go to war. I think. Maybe. I think maybe. I think the problem is I don't like Nesta and Elaine as characters. I don't know. It's unpopular opinion. If they were going to make spin-off character books, I don't think you needed to use her sisters as those jumping off points. I think I would have been just as invested in Cassian finding love, in Lucian, especially Lucian finding love, in Azriel finding love, without the sisters being involved. Truly. I don't like Nesta. I find her to be nasty. I think it's easier to leave the human realm. I don't think Farah, in the less than a year that these series like takes place in like 2 years or so, I don't think she would have lost her love of humanity without her sister, so I don't think they needed to be there. But so like the parts of book 3 that are like, oh, my sisters are here and I love my sisters, but they're acting weird after the thing happens to them, kind of like, ugh. But so it's either like, I love this from book 1, I love it to the midpoint of book 1 to the end of book 2, or I love it to about the midpoint of book 1 to the midpoint of book 2. Because goodness gracious, I am not a war girly. You cannot, and I know part of it was sleep deprivation, I stayed up for 24 hours to read it, but like, you cannot kill everybody like that, bro. I'll cry, and then I'll be crying watching a Jags game. And truly, the Jags do not deserve not a modicum of emotion from me.
It probably doesn't matter and you probably don't care. But that was filmed when the Jags were like 3-5. And now the Jags are 5-8 and they have a chance of going to the playoffs. So yes, they deserve emotion. They've gotten emotion out of me even today while I was editing this. Go Jags, Duval.
They've lied in their beds. They've made their beds lie in it. But I just, oh, it's yummy. I am seated from the romance, from the pining. And so in our next video, after I make my notes in my next section, we're going to talk about the best part of this book, because you have all the parts you need. You have her states with Tamlin. You know that she loves Tamlin and would do anything for Tamlin. You know that we have her sisters. She would do anything for her sisters. She loves her sisters. Her dad is there. Her dad. You know that she is under the mountain and is going to be forced to do some shit for her whatchamacallit, for her love Tamlin, and that might have some lasting impacts on her. You know that the thing that I didn't specify before we get into section 2 is that I really like that Farah didn't come in like some virgin. She's not like some like, oh, you know, Tamlin, I can't just like bust it open for you. It has to be special. No, like Girly Pop, before she got like apprehended by Tamlin, was rolling in the hay with another dude. Like, Farah understands what sexuality is and fully is like, it's life's what you make it, so let's make this pussy pop. Like, she's gonna find her base solitude in slamming jammers together, and honestly, she's an icon for it. She deserves. She ate. She ate that ass. Olivia, as I was reading, I have notes and voice notes and things that I will put in where I think is necessary. But one of the voice notes I sent to my partner, my boyfriend, while reading this was Olivia Wilde stated that during the press run for Don't Worry Darling, that this was the first form of media, and maybe I had the quote wrong, doesn't matter, it's funnier this way, that this is the first form of media that really centers women's pleasure. Meanwhile, cut to this unbelievably, like, it's not graphic, it's not like super graphic, but it's way more descriptive about eating puss than I was expecting. And like, imagine you're just like trying to like, because I think I was doing my makeup, so imagine you're just like trying to blend some eyeshadow and she's just like, he devoured her, oh. Like, I was Valentina seeing Alexis Michelle in whiteface. Like, I was like, whoa. And then like the actual sex is like one step above Fade to Black. Like, Tamlin, if he's gonna do one thing, it is eat the puss. devour, consume. But Farah is kind of like a sex positive, like, fairy, like, literature character. She's not like, ugh, those whores who would trade sex for... She would, if they were like, you have to sleep with so-and-so to get tailed back, she'd be like, skirt's already up, bro. Fucking climb under. Like, and I believe that. I think... And it's not like it's a world that sees sex as positively as that, and she's just living in the world. It is a very anti-sex, like, how dare you? You slept with... You were Amarantha's whore. How could you? How could you? And he's just like, how am I the devil from the Bible? Because I wanted to protect my people with this platinum peen. Whatever. I stand. I'll see you in the next section. Yeah. This was catharsis. This was cathartic. I really enjoyed this. I hope fucking Hunger Games. Motherfucking Misborn. A Court of Thorns and Roses. And it's gonna be a TV show. Oh, you better bet your biscuit. If it's terrible, I'm even more likely going to cover it, but I'm gonna cover this shit. Period poo.